Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shop Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. If you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my college basketball bank shop best bet, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Tuesday in college hoops. First up, it's Loyola Maryland and Navy in the first round of the Patriot League Conference Tournament. This one's going to be a 7 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on ESPN+. We've backed Navy plenty of times this season, and we actually backed them recently against Loyola Maryland back on February 21st in a 69-62 win and cover for Navy. And Navy ended the regular season on a 4-game win streak. They were on a big-time losing streak at one point in Patriot League play, and now they finished the season 8-10 in conference play. They get to host this first-round matchup. However, in that game against Loyola Maryland was really dominant in the second half, especially the second half of the second half in that ball game. Navy had a big lead in that one. They were by 15 points at the most. Their largest lead was 15 points, but about 15 minutes to go. But Loyola Maryland really played really well down the stretch of that game, and I was getting a little worried with Navy. They just did not have any answers offensively. This is already an offense that's not great because they're ranked 355th in effective field goal percentage, 355th in two-point percentage, and 332nd in three-point percentage. And their best three-point shooter, Cam Summers, has been out for a while. He's a 38% three-point shooter. He's been out. So, to me, I worry about this Navy offense, especially when it comes to covering a pretty sizable number in a game like this. With how well Loyola Maryland played in the second half of that game, I think they found something. They found the answers, and Navy's known for forcing a lot of turnovers. Loyola Maryland turns the ball over quite a bit, but in that game, Loyola Maryland only had 5 turnovers. They played pretty fundamentally sound. They're coming off a win against Army. I think we see Loyola Maryland at least cover the number in this game, but maybe pull off the first-round upset. Next up, we'll go to the ACC as Syracuse takes on Clemson. This one's going to also be 7 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on ESPN2. These teams have played already once this season. That was at the Carrier Dome on February 10th. It was a 9-point win for Clemson. In that game, Clemson had 21 turnovers offensively, and we know Syracuse's defense is aggressive. They do force quite a few turnovers, but Clemson actually does a pretty good job at taking care of the basketball overall this season. They're actually, ranked in the side of the top 50 or top 60 in turnover percentage offensively. So it was just kind of one of those strange games for the Tigers, but they still won the game by 9 points. And I think at home here, Syracuse is on a nice win streak right now, but they've also taken advantage of some of the weaker teams in the conference. Along the way of this 4-game win streak, they had wins over Notre Dame and Louisville. And I just don't love this Syracuse team when they're playing away from the Carrier Dome. I think Clemson's going to be much sharper fundamentally in this second matchup. They have the home court advantage, and they do a couple of things that you really have to do if you're playing Syracuse. One of them is make the three-point shot. They're Clemson's top 100 in three-point shooting. Syracuse's defense not the best against a three-point shot. Also, Clemson, a really good defensive rebounding team. Syracuse, one of the worst offensive rebounding teams in the ACC. So Syracuse is going to be held to 1 shot per trip basically all game long. Add the home court advantage. I know Syracuse is looking for revenge, but I don't think they get it. And we're getting a really good price with Clemson because they're coming off the upset loss at Notre Dame. Tough loss there, not a good one at all. But I still think Clemson is solid form. They've won 6 of the last 8 games. They're playing at home here. I'm going to go with the Tigers and lay the points. Next up, we see Alabama and Florida. This one's going to be a 7 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on ESPN. There was no surprise to see that the first matchup of this season series went to overtime. It was a 98-93 win for Alabama at home. Florida did cover the number. They were catching quite a few points in that game. And Alabama, really both teams have kind of struggled in their step-up games this season when they're playing some of the tougher teams on their schedule. Now, both teams do have a win at home against Auburn, but outside of that, we've seen Alabama when they played in non-conference play, Ohio State, Clemson, Purdue, Creighton, Arizona, all outright losses. And in conference play, we've seen them get crushed to Tennessee twice now. They didn't get crushed last game, but it was a home game, losing by 7, not what you want to see. They lost by 18 against Auburn. They lost by about 172 points to Kentucky in that 117-95 final score. So Alabama, not great in these step-up games. Florida, the same thing can be said for them, but Florida's home here. Florida's playing with revenge, and Alabama can't really be trusted right now away from home. They're not in great form. I know Florida blew that lead against South Carolina in that last game, but I still think that they have a good spot here to get that revenge win at home. Going to be a huge home court advantage. Going to be a big crowd for the Gators, and I think these are pretty similar teams. Potent offenses, defense is not so great, but I'm going to go with Florida in this matchup. Next up, we see North Florida and Austin Peay. This one's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on ESPN+, and it's a part of the quarterfinal round of the Atlantic Sun Conference Tournament. Austin Peay's in great form going into this conference tournament. They won 7 of the final 8 games to end the regular season, including a win over these Ospreys back on February 3rd. And that was a double overtime game. It was a really good one, 95-91 the final score. But I think Austin Peay really matches up well in this matchup. And, when you look at North Florida, we took them against Stetson in the last game of the regular season. They won that game for us, in a blowout, 78-59. They were outstanding from the perimeter in that game, making 15 three-pointers. North Florida scores a ton of its points from threes. They score more points from three-point range than any team does in terms of point distribution. 46.3% of the Ospreys' points from three-point jumpers. But Austin Peay has a really good three-point defense. Stetson did not, so it was a good matchup for the Ospreys. But Austin Peay, one of the better three-point defenses in this conference. They only give up 28.1% of the defensive points given up from three-point jumpers. They already beat North Florida once this season. They're playing at home in this game because in this conference tournament, the better seed has the home court advantage. And Austin Peay, fundamentally, the more sound team. I think also another thing is North Florida, really good three-point shooting team, but so is Austin Peay. They're 41st in the country in three-point shooting. They score a lot of their points from the perimeter. And North Florida's three-point defense ranked 295th in the nation. Got to go to Austin Peay in this matchup. I'm going to lay the points. Next up, we see Kansas State and Kansas. The final game we're going to talk about for the Tuesday card in college hoops is going to be on 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. You got to think the Jayhawks circled this game on the schedule after they lost the first matchup in this season series in Manhattan. And it was an overtime game, 75-70, the final score in favor of the Wildcats. And this is an even more important game for Kansas because they've lost the last 2 games now against BYU and Baylor, 2 very, very good teams. I don't think that they're terrible losses. The BYU game was at home, so not an amazing loss for sure, but you can live with it. At Baylor, it's really tough. A really good team and a nice home court advantage, but this is a spot where there's no excuses for Kansas. You're playing at home against your rival. You're playing with revenge. We're getting a pretty good price with Kansas because they lost that first match of the season series and because of their current losing streak. For Kansas State, I think it's a little bit of a letdown spot because they were down big against Cincinnati. They were down by double digits multiple occasions. They came back multiple times. They had a lead late in that game, and then they blew it in the last second. They lost 74-72 in a heartbreaker. It's a letdown after that close game, and Kansas State's not been great on the road this season. They turn the ball over way too much. I think Kansas takes advantage of that. I'm going to go with the Jayhawks here to get their revenge in a blowout win. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday in college basketball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.